Hello everyone and welcome back to Hills and Hollers Homesteading and Prepping. It's Mike, and today I'm making pemmican, and this is going to be probably a little three-step video. Pemmican is a very old type of survival food, essentially is what it is. It goes back to Native Americans. They used to make it after they would hunt the buffaloes and stuff, and it usually ate it with buffalo and wild game. And pemmican is a shelf-stable type of food, and it's essentially dried and ground meat. It's powdered meat is what it ends up being. So it's not like beef jerky. What we'll do is with this meat is we've already sliced it thin. We'll put it on the smoker. I'll give it about an hour at 200 degrees to get the good smoke flavor to it. And I'm going to crank that temperature way down to right around 120, 130 and let it just dry. So you're not cooking this meat, you're literally drying it. 200 degrees for about the first 45 minutes or so is just enough to get the smoke, going real good. Maybe even just 160 I'll even start at, depending. I'll read over a couple more recipes to see what seems to be the average there. But for about the first 30, 45, 60 minutes, it's going to be just enough to get the smoke going and then impart that smoke flavor into the meat. And then after that, I'm going to crank that temperature down. And it's probably going to take 12, 16, 18 hours, maybe even longer to get the effect that I want. And it's, if you guys have ever seen the, what do they call it? The little rye crisps, like in Chex Mix and stuff like that, the little brown rye crisps. That's essentially the texture that I want of this meat. And once that meat gets to be that texture and that dry, I'll take it, put it in a food processor, and just essentially pulverize it, turn it into powder. And after that, then we're going to put some beef tallow in it, rendered beef tallow, and then we'll form it, put it in the refrigerator, let it set up, and then we'll cut it into squares, and it'll be completely shelf stable. Of course, we'll vacuum seal it, but it doesn't require refrigeration. And it's a survival superfood is what it is, because it's got high quality protein in it. It's going to have high quality fat, and it's going to be sustainable, just like I said, on the shelf for many, many years. So the Native Americans, when they did it, they didn't have refrigeration, obviously, and this is what they did to help get through this, the leaner times and everything. So this is why we're making it, and I'll give you a little quick glimpse here. So what I did was I ended up buying, I think, about 3 top round roasts. And when you buy them, you want them to get about half frozen. You want to trim as much fat off of it as you possibly can. And then just on a little kitchen slicer, I've put and sliced these up. And I've got 3 racks right here right now. And I've pretty much ran out of room on my racks for my smoker, but I still have a whole bowl full of it, so there's plenty of that to go. Now, we are not going to season this meat ahead of time. And the reason for that is we're going to pretty much desiccate this meat. We're going to dry it completely out. So if I was to put any kind of seasoning on it right now, minus the smoke that I'm going to use to help flavor it, is like if we would put salt or some kind of like steak seasoning or something like that, it would pretty much multiply it 10 times once this is dry. So you go from a tablespoon of salt and just sprinkle all over all this, you're probably looking at a salt block when you're done, because it's going to enhance and magnify that salt, because you're removing all the moisture and you're concentrating that salt. So we're not going to season it beforehand other than the smoke, and that's why I'm going to do it in the smoker. So like I said, this is probably going to be a 3 video series of doing this. It's not hard. There's no technical steps to it. You do have to have the ability, like most ovens will go, I think, to 175 at the lowest. And I think you need anywhere from about 125, 135, 145, 160 in that range. So, and like I said, there's some different recipes out there, but the thing is you don't want to cook this meat as much as you want to dry it. And you want to dry it way more than you would any kind of jerky. So like I said, because you're going to essentially just turn this into meat powder when it's done. But this is a good, easy way, instead of buying a bunch of MREs where you're paying $12, $15 a bag and putting them on your shelf for good for 5 years. Once we're done with this, these things will go out in squares, and they'll pretty much just be like brownies is what they will be, just kind of in that sense, little squares of pemmican. And like I said, we'll vacuum seal them. You can even just put them in freezer bags and just leave them on the shelf, and as long as you're not having like 80, 90 degree temperatures and like severe temperature fluctuations where you're going to store them, there's not going to be a problem with it, because the meat is already, it's completely dry. So 3-part series on this. I'll put it in tonight, or today actually. And like I said, it'll be tomorrow when it's dry. When I get the first round done, I'll show you guys. I'll bring another video in here, and I'll dry it or get it dried. I'll put it in the food processor. I'll get the powder, and I may wait until I'm done with all of it. It's probably going to take about 3 or 4 runs, so this is probably going to be a series over about the next week here. So because I got limited space, I have a small electric smoker outside, so I've only got three racks to do it in. And like I said, our oven will only go down to 175 at the lowest setting, so, and I need lower than that. So it'll take a few days to get all this done. Once I do, then I'll do a second video on everything, and at that point, we'll probably, once I get everything powdered up, get it all mixed, get it all formed in the pans and plates, or the pans and the containers and stuff, and get it refrigerated. Then we'll do a short video at the end and kind of show everything. Now right now I'm also dehydrating blueberries, and you can add stuff to this once it's done. So once you're done with the meat, once you get it dried, you can put dehydrated fruit. Now I wouldn't get store-bought dehydrated fruit. I would dry it on your own because you don't want that extra added sugar to it. So you want to dry these berries or even nuts, and you grind them up and mix in with it. They say, now some people will say that that'll shorten the shelf life of it because the nuts can go rancid. The berries can kind of go, you know, a little stale or a little bad after a while. I'm only going to do a portion of it with blueberries, and I went and bought fresh blueberries yesterday, and I got them in the dehydrator now. It's probably going to take them 18 hours to dry up completely, where I can powder those up as well. So this is the process we're going through. I'll do a portion with berries and then a portion without, and then I'll add any seasoning that I want to add at the very end before I mix it in with the tallow, the rendered tallow. And rendered tallow is just basically beef fat, is all it is. And it's clean. You know, it's not like cutting fat off steak and putting it in there. You're actually taking rendered, where it's looking like a wax. You'll melt it down, add it in with the meat, form it, and then let it set up. So like I said, this is probably going to be one of at least 3 videos to get this done. And we'll get the series out there, teach you guys. And like I said, don't be intimidated by this. Look up pemmican if you've never heard of it, or you're just not completely familiar with it. See what it offers for you there on YouTube. There's tons of videos on it, and we're going to be making it. Right now I'm going to get these things set in the smoker, get it started, and then we'll just sit back and wait for it to dry. So folks, in the meantime, if you like the channel and you like the content and you're like-minded, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like, leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, tell us what you think, and we'll see you on the next video. In the meantime, take care, God bless, and keep prepping.